Let's talk about something you may have already noticed. Gas prices in Oregon have jumped 16 cents to an average of $4.14 a gallon.
U.S. oil production falling this year, according to the nation's biggest and fastest growing oil company. EOG Resources slashing spending by 40%, reducing drilling by almost half, and will maintain.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency over the weekend to bring more energy to Michigan home.
I would say in the last month, we've seen gas price wars, which we never really experienced too much before.
America has always believed that energy security was a guarantee. For decades, Canada stood as its most trusted partner, a reliable neighbor that kept oil flowing across pipelines and borders, fueling U.S. cars, planes, industries, and households. But that confidence has been shattered. In a move no one thought Canada would dare to make, Ottawa has cut oil exports to the United States in direct retaliation for Trump's escalating tariffs. The result? Gas stations in at least 5 American states are running completely dry, leaving families, workers, and businesses caught in a storm of shortages and skyrocketing prices. Picture the scene in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Long lines of cars stretch for blocks, with frustrated drivers waiting hours just to find out the station is already out of fuel. Parents stuck in traffic, truckers stranded on highways, workers missing shifts. Tensions are rising as communities face the kind of fuel crisis that many Americans thought belonged to history books, not modern-day reality. And at the center of the storm stands Donald Trump, furious and humiliated. For years, he weaponized tariffs as his tool of choice, hitting Canada with punishing duties on steel, lumber, dairy, and auto parts. Canada tolerated it for a while, but patience has a breaking point. Now, in one bold stroke, Canada has struck at America's Achilles heel, its dependence on Canadian oil. Nearly half of all U.S. crude imports come from Canada. Without it, the system doesn't just slow down, it grinds to a halt. Trump's reaction has been explosive. Publicly, he calls Canada's actions a betrayal, declaring that America will never bow to blackmail. Privately, reports suggest he's livid, demanding his team prepare a package of retaliatory tariffs and sanctions. But here's the reality. The United States has limited options. You can't replace Canadian oil overnight. Imports from Venezuela are politically toxic. Supplies from Saudi Arabia come with their own strings attached. Domestic production, while strong, can't ramp up fast enough to fill the gap. For ordinary Americans, this isn't just about politics. It's about survival. A nurse in Ohio finishes her night shift and pulls into her local station, only to find every pump wrapped in yellow caution tape. A delivery driver in Minnesota, who supports his family with his van, is left stranded, unable to make a day's earnings. A family in Wisconsin waits 3 hours in line just to fill half a tank, rationing fuel for the week ahead. These are not abstract consequences. This is the human cost of political brinkmanship. The economic fallout is already rippling across industries. Trucking companies are raising shipping fees, which means grocery prices are climbing. Airlines are warning passengers that ticket prices may double. Farmers, already squeezed by equipment costs, now face fuel bills that threaten their harvests. And small businesses, the backbone of America's economy, are at risk of shutting down because they simply can't afford the fuel to keep running. Globally, the impact is just as severe. China and India, watching closely, are quick to court Canada for new energy deals. Europe, already grappling with its own energy insecurity, sees an opportunity to strengthen ties with Ottawa. Russia smiles quietly, ready to exploit America's desperation by offering its oil, though at a steep geopolitical price. For the first time in generations, the United States looks vulnerable, not because of a foreign adversary, but because its closest ally decided to push back. Cause and effect could not be clearer. America's tariffs were designed to protect domestic industries, but they ignited resentment. That resentment turned into resistance. And resistance turned into retaliation. Now, the retaliation has cut deep, showing how interconnected and fragile the global energy system truly is. Canada's move is strategic, not reckless. Ottawa knows this decision hurts, but it also knows it has leverage. Canada has long been treated as the junior partner in North American trade, but today, it's proving it can stand tall and force Washington to pay attention. Canada is diversifying its markets, sending signals to Asia and Europe that it's open for new partnerships. In a way, This is Canada's declaration of independence from America's economic dominance. But here's the question that Americans must grapple with. What happens when your closest friend stops trusting you? For decades, U.S. leaders assumed that Canada would always play along, no matter how unfair the trade policies. That assumption has been shattered. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. The personal toll cannot be ignored. Families are cutting back on everything, from groceries to school trips, just to afford a tank of gas. Workers are missing shifts. Communities are feeling the squeeze of inflation with no relief in sight. And in living rooms across America, the question is being asked, was it worth it? Were tariffs worth the chaos they unleashed? This crisis forces us to reflect on ethics and leadership. Tariffs might win applause at rallies, but when the cost is paid by ordinary Americans in the form of shortages and higher prices, can they truly be called victories? Leaders may frame this as a matter of national pride, but for everyday citizens, pride doesn't fill a gas tank or feed a family. The world is watching. This is more than a trade dispute. It's a turning point in geopolitics. Global alliances are shifting, trade is being realigned, and power is being redistributed. Canada, once overlooked as America's quiet neighbor, is now shaping the conversation. And the U.S. faces a sobering truth. Even the strongest nation in the world can be brought to its knees when it takes allies for granted. So where does America go from here? Does it double down with threats and retaliation, risking further isolation? Or does it step back, rebuild trust, and seek cooperation instead of confrontation? These choices will not only shape today's crisis, but will define the future of U.S. leadership on the world stage. And that brings us to you, the viewer. What do you think? Was Canada justified in cutting oil exports, or did it go too far? Should Trump have seen this coming, or was retaliation inevitable? We want to hear your perspective. Leave a comment below. Whichever one sparks the most powerful debate, we'll pin it. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Traveling Vibes. This channel is where we cut through the noise, where you get the full story behind the headlines, and where your voice matters. Stay tuned, because this crisis is only the beginning of a much bigger story. This event is not just a headline. It's part of a much larger shift happening across American politics. Some leaders are calling this a turning point, while others see it as just political theater. Either way, the impact on public trust and confidence in the system cannot be ignored. We should also pay attention to how this decision will affect international relations and America's global image. It also raises important questions about accountability, transparency, and leadership in the U.S. This story is still unfolding, and the coming weeks will reveal just how significant it truly is.